All right. Welcome back to the Malapert Smart podcast. Thank you, anybody out there who is listening, and thank you, anybody who has subscribed. We really appreciate that. That just makes us happy. I don't know how else to put it. We're up to 121 subscribers now. Man.
Ooh, okay, we're growing.
That's pretty good progress. I'm very proud of each and every one of those subscribers. Each and every one.
About 20 more since last week. That's good.
Yeah, nice. I guess somebody's watching and being like, oh, this ain't bad. I'm about to subscribe. So please hit subscribe over there if you haven't yet. Just do it. Trust me. This is a good show. For our wrestling analysis, I usually bring on Vlad, the wrestling expert. He's my foremost expert. He's down there. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see his mug with the Macho Man background. He's a big Macho Man Randy Savage fan. Wrestling expert.
The Macho Man. Yeah.
Expert from the 90s wrestling. He grew up throughout that 90s boom, the Attitude Era, the rise of WCW, NWO type of stuff, which we've been following a little bit on this show. It's been fun. Thank you for joining us, Vlad. I appreciate being here.
Yep, I appreciate being invited.
We're about to talk some wrestling, which is good, man. People always ask me, how come you only talk wrestling on your show? Why don't you talk about other things? It's because wrestling is all that matters. This is all that matters. And it's all I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about anything else. I don't care about anything else.
You don't want to talk sports or politics or anything else?
Hell no. There's too much wrestling.
Talking politics, but sports, I don't mind sports.
Yeah, sports is all right. I used to be a bigger sports fan, but I've soured.
Well, we used to have a show, remember, Kevin? We used to have a little show
yes,
prior to
we
this.
had a Sports Break, it was called. Sports Break, NBA.
Sports Break.
And Vlad was the NBA expert.
I'm always the expert. I'm always the expert no matter what.
In everything. Wow.
Well, I have to admit, I am kind of an expert in these subjects, but I don't know if that's like the things you want to be an expert in: basketball, sports, and wrestling. I don't have any knowledge in. I don't have any actual useful knowledge in my head. Nothing that I can actually make money off of, but okay.
Well, we did watch a lot of this stuff, so we might as well give our expertise to the people out there. That's how we're making use of this knowledge. Well,
that's true.
We do it for the people.
Yep. We did it for The Rock and the people. Exactly.
We do this for the people, yes. We're not just sitting...
I'm not doing it for The Rock, but I'm definitely doing it for the people.
Okay, so let me introduce Robert. Sorry, the Frozen Asian. He's over there on the right side of the screen. If you guys are watching on YouTube, thank you for joining us, Robert. We appreciate it every time you're here. Future Malapert Smart Hall of Famer. But for today, on this segment, we're going to talk about Dynamite from this past Wednesday. Me and Vlad, we were debating on topics for today's show, for today's recording, and Dynamite was on the fence because it was like, I don't know. We've been a little down on AEW, and we've decided if there's nothing to talk about, we're not going to force it and just talk about anything because we got plenty of old wrestling that we could go back and talk about it, which would be more fun to do. But I watched Dynamite. In the middle of the night, I was kind of passing out and I had one eye on it. And I thought there were some interesting things that happened, a couple things that I think we could mention and talk about. So let's get to it. We got our Malapert Smart TV I'm going to pull up. Let's watch some of Dynamite. Let's see what we got first.
Guys, I am here with Nick and Matt Jackson. Guys, it is so great to see you back here in AEW. You guys have requested this time to discuss a few things.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but can you show a little more respect next time and call us by our God-given names of Nicholas and Matthew Jackson? You see, we're executive vice presidents around here, and it's time to take this job a little more serious.
Great point.
All right. For those of you who don't know, let's explain this from the beginning, Vlad. We got to bring the people into this. Anyone who might be watching this for the first time and knows nothing about wrestling. So these two guys are the Young Bucks. They convinced Tony Khan. They're one of the group of guys who convinced Tony Khan, who had the money, the son of the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, to invest in wrestling. And, they were big heroes for this at the time because we wanted an alternative to WWE. And it was a big deal. It started off hot. There was a lot of goodwill around it. People really wanted it to work. And it did, it looked nice at the beginning. People had high hopes for it until we saw how the booking kind of laid out for the next couple of years. And it's been 5 years since the company started, something like that. So Tony Khan is not a really experienced booker. It's the first time he's done it. So he gets a lot of criticism from the old generation of wrestlers and bookers. But the Young Bucks also have been made vice president of the company, along with Kenny Omega. They had no experience in this regard. They come from independent wrestling mostly. They did TNA, but they kind of got hot on the indie scene before AEW started. They got a fan base, right? You know, they do cool moves. They're known for their flips. They're just a little tongue-in-cheek, right? They don't take the wrestling business seriously. There's two
even
here. Yeah,
even
exactly. They're doubling down. But yeah, they're known for being a little bit goofy and not taking the business and the matches as seriously as some other wrestlers. So that's the two schools of thought, that some people say you should treat it seriously and people will kind of accept it. And then other people say, nah, it's wrestling. Everyone knows it's fake, so let's just laugh about it. So that's the Young Bucks here. Recently, there was a controversy with CM Punk, and CM Punk has since left the company, and they got CM Punk. It was a legitimate star, legitimate wrestler for them, and he wanted to instill some of the old school principles, right, of old school 80s wrestling into AEW, and he kind of got forced out by the youngsters, and this is part of that group. And this is really the first time we've heard from these guys since all that controversy. We haven't heard them really talk on the show or even in private give any shoot interviews about it. So this is their response. This is literally the first thing we're getting from them, and this is it. It's them acting like complete assholes. Like, literally, it's pretty heelish, I must say. To the people in the know, to the old school wrestling fan, this is pretty asshole shit to do. Because people are saying, oh, you need to take this more seriously. So here they are coming out with this ridiculous suit and this outfit saying, oh, yeah, you need to treat us more seriously.
Yeah, well, yes, to be fair, but I think that is what they're going for. You know, I'm not one to defend the Young Bucks, but that is, I think, the point of this gimmick that they currently...
Well, at least it makes sense. But it's only for the smart Mark fans. Like, if you don't know everything that I just said, if you're just watching out of nowhere, you just want to watch a random show, you have no idea what the fuck this is. But, okay, let's listen to the rest of it. I want to see this interview.
Okay, well then, starting with that, let's talk about this job and taking things more seriously. I mean, we've seen the temper tantrums, the public meltdowns. I mean, the rumors that we've seen.
Rumors. Hang on. Okay. You want to go there? I think I know which rumors you're talking about. You don't believe any of that is true now, Rene? The things that they say about us, the things that they write about us, right? Okay. None of those are true, okay? It's all fake. But let's say hypothetically some of that was true, right? Some of the stuff you read was true, right? Let me ask.
Is this referring to CM Punk, the fight and everything? And
that's what it's referring to? I wasn't quite sure. When they kept mentioning rumors, like, what exactly are they talking about?
What else?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. There's been quite a bit of rumors about them in general. The fact that they're, they're dicks, basically. But that doesn't mean... I don't know what rumors they're specifically referring to. There's been so many different ones. So it's hard to say.
For me, so much time has passed since CM Punk's departure and up to this interview that it could have meant all kinds of things. So that was actually confused when they were mentioning rumors. I had no idea which rumors they were referring to exactly, but okay, let's go with
that's
the...
fair, yeah.
You a question. What would you do to preserve and protect your life's work? What would you do to preserve and protect your baby? You and John got a beautiful daughter, right? What would you do? Huh? I know what I would do. Right? So just think about that when you come at us with rumors again. But again, this is all hypotheticals, okay? And also, what would you be willing to lose? Would you be willing to lose your relationship with coworkers and your friends? And how about your reputation or your legacy out the window? You know, and if you knew all that in hindsight, would you still do it if it meant that there would be a healthy, sustainable, thriving wrestling company called AEW? Yeah. You know what? I know my answer. The answer is... hell yeah. I'll go back and do it all over again. And speaking of there being a company around, you got your paycheck this week, right? Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so there's an element of shoot in this. The way I analyze what he's saying is they're saying they need to protect AEW to survive, and I think they think that they've done the best job that you could do. Their style of wrestling, their indie mud show style, as it's called among certain circles, I think they think that's better than the old school style, and they're challenging Sting, and they're going to mention, oh, we're going to get him out of the business because we need to get that old-fashioned thinking of wrestling out of the business. What do you guys think of that?
Okay, so they changed chased out the only two legit stars that they've ever had in the company, Cody, and they chased out CM Punk. Whether Cody, admits or says that he was chased out, it doesn't really matter. He was basically, there were disagreements within that group, right?
Yeah,
we know this.
They were not going to let him do it his way, which is the standard old-fashioned wrestling way, right?
And now both of these guys, as we have said in previous shows, are possibly going to be main eventing WrestleMania and the two biggest stars and the biggest company in the world. So whatever they're protecting, it's just blowing up in their face. Whatever they think they're protecting, I don't even know if they believe what they're saying in this thing, but whatever they're doing has really hurt the company. That's why I've always said, for people that defend them, nobody's done more harm to AEW than these two guys right here. Nobody. Nobody's done more damage to the self-respect of this company. And I don't care what the AEW fans say or think, or guys like our own good friend Brian think of these guys. These guys have done so much harm to their own company that they can't even be stated. But anyways, I'm going to let Robert talk because I know he may have something to say about this.
Yeah, Robert, you're a bit more of a Young Bucks fan than we are, I think. Do you have any response to that?
Okay, so yes, I am a Young Bucks fan, but I don't necessarily watch them for their promos and interviews. So this is quite a lot for them to say. I don't really hear them say this much in one interview. I don't know, that this felt more like probably far too long rants. I mean, we haven't seen the whole thing yet, but I was like, what is going on? What are they talking about? I was more confused more than anything, especially starting off with the rumors. I kept thinking in my head, like, what rumors are they referring to? Why are they being so defensive all of a sudden? That was more so what was playing in my head. Like, I don't know what it is that they're talking about, what they're trying to defend themselves against, like what rumors is Rene speaking of, because they didn't make it very clear.
Well, you're supposed to know already. You're supposed to be in the know in the wrestling world. That's a lot of AEW, though. AEW don't bring people in. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. But
in this case, I didn't know. So I was more confused than anything else.
All right, let's hear what the rest of it. But Robert, let me just say, I think that this is really the first time I've seen them talk about anything. So I think the CM Punk thing is included with this.
Yeah, there is a point where it seems pretty obvious they are talking about CM Punk.
Yeah, for sure.
But I didn't think that was what the rumors were about. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, switching gears to keep things on track here, let's talk Sting. Let's talk the moment from last week, seeing you guys make your arrival back into AEW. Can you walk me through those moments?
When we started AEW, you weren't there in the beginning, so you don't know. But we used to say, change the world. That was the slogan, change the world. And we did. We were disruptors. We were rebels. We spat in the face of tradition. It was out with the old and in with the new, Rene. And for a while, we were doing that. We weren't changing the world, and somewhere along the way, we did lose our way. It was like the culture shifted and toxicity creeped into the locker rooms, and the perception of the company was just different. That's all. It was just different, okay? And I think I know why. I think it's because we started to lean on yesterday's self-serving, superficial, cancerous superstars. And you mentioned Sting. This isn't about Sting. Sting is none of those things. Sting's great. He's a role model employee. He is awesome. The conversation for one of the greatest of all times. I actually am envious of the way that people talk about him. Maybe they'll talk about us like that one day. Okay? However, it's about what Sting represents. Sting is the last of that dying breed, and the image of Sting, it isn't in line with what we wanted to do here at AEW. We wanted to change the world. So unfortunately for Sting, we're going to have to say goodbye to Sting and everybody like Sting. And we would never ask anybody to do something that we weren't willing to do ourselves, Rene.
Good point.
So is that an official call out to Sting at Revolution for Sting's final match?
Well, see that? As EVPs, we'll pull some strings.
All right, sweetheart. We got a meeting to get to.
All right. Well, they tied Sting into that whole thing. He did mention he likes Sting as an employee. He's a model employee, but he does represent the old guard, the old ways, because he came from that generation. Although he has played ball with a lot of the goofiness of AEW, So that doesn't make a lot of sense. He's not one of the guys who's pushing for things to be the old ways, like CM Punk definitely was. And a lot of these WWE guys that come in, they think that it should be done a certain way. And when it doesn't, they create a stink about it, and then they get pushed to the side. Or they don't get featured, or they don't get pushed. Like Miro, and then Punk got pushed out, and Cody left. Cody wasn't listened to. He wasn't going to have his way, so he just said, fuck it, I'm going to bail on this. This was a good plan at first. Sounded good, but we're leaving. Anyways, let's get comments on the whole Sting thing and how you think that relates to what they said, if that makes sense, if that kind of makes this feud anything now, or is it still kind of like random, like we mentioned last week, that it didn't have an angle or a story behind it. They kind of trying to push a story into it now. So let's get some thoughts from Robert first. I'll go with Robert.
I felt like they were just trying to create an angle out of nothing. I don't believe anything they say. Well, I do believe them when they say that they respect Sting and that he should be considered one of the best of all time. But them saying that they want to destroy what he represents, well, if that's the case, why is Jake the Snake around? Why is Arn Anderson? Why do you have these guys in your company still if you want to destroy what Sting represents, right? That doesn't make sense to me. So I just feel like they're just trying to create an angle out of nothing. If it's true what Lad mentioned last week that Sting actually chose them, they had to come up with some sort of angle, and this is what they came up with. I don't know. So I personally don't believe them. That's my take on it.
Vlad, let's get your take. Similar thoughts or what?
As far as this whole angle, I don't feel any different about it. I think there were some discussions on, I guess, the internet wrestling community that the Young Bucks would come back as heels of some sort, kind of talking about them being EVPs more than they've ever have before. So this isn't really a surprise. The fact that they're kind of involved in Sting's last match is a little bit surprising, though. I think that was the big surprise. I'm not sure who in the current roster in AEW or whoever they could have gotten from, I don't know, Japan or wherever, TNA or wherever, would have been better. But I'm just surprised that the Young Bucks are involved in this, given what I think of them already. So I don't know. I don't know if this thing is actually improved based on the fact that they're a heel group. But I feel that at least it was somewhat honest, given I think this is how they actually feel, in the sense of they're doing the right things, they're protecting AEW. I think that part rings true in their minds, that they're taking the right course of action in what they're doing. Now, we could debate that, obviously, but I do feel that there's some truth in what they're saying. So this was kind of a work shoot, because there's obviously there's an angle here, which is Sting's last match, which they're going to be involved in, but also the shoot part, which I think there was some truth mentioned, as far as how they actually feel.
You know what, though? I think I'll give it a pass now. I'll let it pass. I think I'm going to be accepting of this storyline. It's something, At least it's not, the last match is just against the Young Bucks. At least they threw something in there. Yeah, I didn't completely believe it, also because Sting has been such a loyal guy to AEW, and whatever the kids want him to do, he's been playing trampoline cowboy with them. So
yes, absolutely.
Cowboy. Wow.
That's what they do. They jump around, they spin around, they do goofy tricks. He flies off of things. It's been a fun ride. He's been one of the boys. I think they could have used his run a lot better, though, because a lot of the things he did was incredible, but it just kind of got mixed in with the mishmash of everything else. If they really featured him more and had some really targeted feuds and focused on them, and then he did one of those insane moves in one of those matches, it would have hit harder. I think it could have been done a little better overall, but that's just a problem with the AEW show overall. One big comparison I make to the classic wrestling we're watching, the Nitros and stuff, is that although the NWO stuff is really good, the rest of the stuff around it fit around it really well, and it didn't fuck up the NWO angle. But that's what's going on in AEW, is that they might even have a good angle going, but the rest of the show will be so goofy and silly and crazy that it kind of fucks up the other angles. It steps on other people's toes. That's my big assessment about AEW overall. But let's move on. We got a little bit more to talk about with this episode. I don't want to spend all day talking about AEW. There was a little video package they had with Sting and Darby to get ready for his last match, which I thought was a nice video package. Really showed him and Darby being friends, put Darby over, said it was his best tag team partner ever. What do you think, Vlad? Who's better, Darby or Lex Luger?
I think Lex Luger, but
really, is it that much of a landslide? I mean, Darby's a pretty good wrestler. I think he could have worked back in the days in the Attitude Era, right?
Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to picture what he could have been doing in that time. I mean, I guess he could have been in some of those like TLC matches that they had with the Hardys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys and whatnot. He could have been doing some extreme matches. Could have been in some ECW matches, right? I could see that. He likes to take risks and hurt himself just for fun. Yeah. So yeah, he could have been involved in it. Yeah, he could have been like somebody like a Spike Dudley.
No, but that's not true. Darby Allin has been involved in some really great matches, 5-star matches. We both said he had a 5-star match against MJF.
With who's maybe the best wrestler in the world. So but yeah.
Still, how many 5-star matches has Lex Luger had one-on-one with anybody?
Maybe against Ric Flair. So if you fight against some of the best wrestlers in the world, you're going to have maybe a 5-star match. You know, some of those guys could have a match with a broom and still have a 5-star match. So
I'm going to go with
a 5-star wrestler. No, I do not think. If you're asking me if I had a wrestling company, would I rather have Darby or Lex Luger? I'd rather have Lex Luger. Okay, that's the bottom line.
I'll take Lex Luger too, man. But I don't think it's such a landslide. Like you guys laughed as soon as I asked the question. Like Belly laughed. Like, oh my God, what a ridiculous question. I mean, I don't know. I think I have a lot of respect for Darby Allin personally.
I mean, it's only silly in the sense of that Luger is like actually former world champion many times over and things like that. I don't know. I'm just saying that. Yeah,
and he looks ripped and buff as fuck.
I mean, in his prime, I mean, he was just jacked to the gills, right? So, yeah.
All right, let's move on. Next thing I would talk about is Hook versus Samoa Joe. I don't really have any bookmarks today. Sometimes I go through the show and prepare for these podcasts and have some bookmarks ready. But today I'm just going to forward through it. I guess that's going to give the audience here, if anyone's watching along on YouTube, give them a sense of how I watch wrestling, just so you guys know. I don't really sit and watch the whole show. I kind of skip through it, so I forward through a lot of parts that I don't really care about. I'll watch matches here and there. Certain matches are very important, and I'll watch, but I don't watch every single match. Like a 2-hour Dynamite, I think I could get through in 20, 25 minutes, something like that. But here's Hook.
That's about right.
Samoa Joe's coming out. So the one thing about this match that caught your eye, Vlad, that you texted me about was those bumps, right? The Hook bumps. So
yeah.
Let's skip to that and let's analyze. Let me forward through it. Hold on one second. All right, let's play some of it from here and watch what happens.
And he's got the champion on his hands and knees. They're in front of our desk here. Samoa, watch out. And go for a T-bone here.
Gonna give him a T-bone suplex onto the table. Hook's trying to give suplex Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe picks him up. Whoa, what do you call that move?
Uranagi.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah, there you go. Look, Robert with the Excalibur right there. So Samoa Joe picked Hook up and spun him and slammed him onto the table. And Uranagi, I don't know how else I could explain that for the audio listeners, but he took a rad bump onto the table. It looked pretty sick on the corner. Sells it really well.
Like hell. Looked like it hurt like hell.
Yeah. Great selling job today, though. If you want to talk about wrestling, we're Smarks here. We analyze wrestling. He's doing a good job. Unless he's actually really hurt.
That's what I'm saying. I think he could actually be kind of hurt.
They worked that, bro. I mean, they just made it look like he really got hurt. I would hope. Anyways.
And right here, too.
Yeah, Hook gave him the middle finger and then a power bomb onto the ring apron, which also looks crazy. And then he falls down in a heap. Definitely a work, I think. I think he's meant to be looking like he's fucked up here.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. It wasn't for the most part of work. I'm just saying that maybe he did also kind of land kind of messed up there, too. Yeah.
To some extent, they had to feel some of the pain.
Yeah. Because that looked painful to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the point is here that he's pulling off what they're trying to portray here, that Joe is a badass and he's fucking up this kid, basically. So
absolutely. Yeah. That was what they were going for this match. They did a hell of a job showing that.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't think this show was completely worthless flat. I think a lot of people looked at this booking of Hook versus Joe as an issue, that, it was a weird booking, that Hook didn't really do enough to deserve a world title shot. But they put his character over when he came out. They had the lights going, they had the Hook like Batman. I don't know if you saw that. I kind of skipped over it, but they had the light shining at the roof and it said Hook.
Oh, yeah.
They made him look kind of cool here. He's going to lose, right? Is that what happens?
Yes, he does lose.
Let me skip to the ending then. Let's see how the match ends. All right, so this is the end of the match. I skipped to the ending. He actually got some offense in, though.
He did.
But in the end, he just got choked out. Too small. Can't fight out of this Kushida clutch. And what is he going to pass out, basically? I don't think he's going to tap out.
Yeah, he just basically passes out.
Fingertips in. He's fading right now, but he's not giving up. He's got a chance if he can just wiggle those fingers.
Well, there you go. He's dead. Vlad, can you give an assessment then of Hook and the match? Yeah. Well, Joe is obviously good.
Yeah.
Hook was the one that we were curious about here.
I'm still not sure. I mean, I can't really say one way or another if Hook is going to be something or not. I mean, he has potential. He's young. He's got a pretty decent look. I mean, he's a little small, but that's okay. I don't think that's going to kill you in today's wrestling. He got some offense in. Maybe the match went a little bit longer. Not longer, but like he got a little too much offense in at the end. I mean, the point was to just show that Joe's dominance. I don't know. I'm still not sure what you do with Hook because he doesn't really have much of a personality. He just like eats potato chips and, and that's pretty much all you've got out of him so far. So it's hard to say what really will become of Hook. I don't want to like label him a failure or a success one way or another. I'm just going to say that there's like potential, but there's a huge question mark on if he stays in AEW, what the future holds for him. Because I honestly don't know. I don't know.
Robert, what do you think of Hook?
Well, let me talk about the match first. It went pretty much as the way I expected it to, that it was going to be mostly a one-sided affair in the favor of Samoa Joe, and it was. I mean, yes, Hook did get some offense in at the very end, but it was mostly one-sided. I don't know. I feel like Hook's stock didn't necessarily either go up or down with this match. Because, yes, he is in the main event of Dynamite, but the match itself wasn't really that competitive, so I don't know what to say about Hook. He does have potential. I'll say that. He has definitely some room for growth, for sure.
I thought it was very interesting how they worked this match. I'll compare it to Orange Cassidy, who's the other guy who's kind of Hook's size. He's not as buff. Hook is he's ripped. You know, he's small, he's skinny, but he's ripped. Orange Cassidy is not ripped. He's a complete scrawny looking guy, but he beats the crap out of everyone. So they could have went that way with Hook here, where they kind of just let him be this really unrealistically strong guy, because AEW is unrealistic. It doesn't really matter. The Young Bucks kick out of infinite finishers sometimes, and they're two pretty small guys. So you don't have to do it really realistic in AEW, but I thought it was interesting that they tried to go real here, and he tried to put Joe over with the size difference and make it look realistic. That, I say, is a good thing for him overall as a wrestler. About his push with AEW, whether he's going to be like Orange Cassidy, I guess not at this point. I guess Orange Cassidy is the stronger character, because Orange Cassidy would have beat Samoa Joe with the fucking Superman punch. But anyways,
Really? I don't think so.
You think Orange Cassidy would have beaten Samoa Joe as the world champion right now?
Kayfabe-wise, if you look at what they've been portraying Orange Cassidy as, yes. I mean, he beat Jon Moxley, fucking gave him 5 orange punches and a beach break. If he could beat Moxley, why couldn't he beat Joe? Moxley is up at that level with Joe, former world champion, main event picture. So, yeah, I mean, according to the character that they portray for Orange Cassidy would have a chance to beat Joe, yes.
He'd have a chance. I agree. He'd have a chance.
That's how they
I think that's fair to say.
But
that's fair to say.
They had a chance here with Hook to just put him over and be like a badass guy, because this is probably the strongest opponent he's fought out of everyone he's fought, and he just lost. So interesting. But okay, that's basically all I got for Dynamite. I would give a shout out to Toni Storm's segment. I'm not going to play it, but man, it was so freaking funny. She was on commentary for
that's right.
Deonna Purazzo's match. And Ian Riccaboni was filling in for Tony Schiavone, and she thought it was Tony. And she's like, wow, Tony, you look fantastic. What happened? What a cow.
May I say you are looking amazing. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, she was great.
And the whole time she couldn't believe it. She kept looking back. He's like, I can't believe your transformation. Wow. He's like, you looked like awful before. Now you look handsome and great.
Yeah, and then 30 years younger, yeah.
And Taz said, yeah, and he took off that stupid earring. So I'll mention Deonna Purazzo, too. She had a match with Anna Jay. Sometimes I look at Tony Khan, because we criticize his booking, but sometimes I'm like, man, you son of a bitch.
Why? This was a good booking?
Anna Jay versus Deonna Purazzo? Hell yeah. I like that booking a lot. And then Deonna Purazzo called out Toni Storm at the end, told her, what happened to you? We used to be friends. You used to be normal. Now you're crazy. And then Toni Storm got on Luther's shoulders and gave this incredible speech. Which was, so yeah, again, I'm going back to Toni Storm.
You know what, I don't remember, I know we're not going to play it, but what exactly was, I can't remember what she said, but I'm sure it was hilarious and funny at the same time. I'm talking about Toni Storm. I do remember her being on Luther's shoulders and cutting a promo. I do remember that. And by the way, I'm glad they found some use for Luther.
Do you remember her throwing the shoe?
I do remember her throwing the shoe and saying her line about, tits up and then beware of the shoe or whatever. Watch the shoe, yeah.
I'll try to find a link and put it in the description below for any listeners out there who might not have seen it. I think I could probably find a YouTube link. So those are the 3 things I took from Dynamite. I didn't think it was a great show, but I got something out of it. There was that Christian match with Dustin Rhodes, which I thought would have been a solid match in the Attitude Era, like a preliminary undercard match. It fit in, the work was good. It didn't really have much of a story or anything, but they were just 2 legendary workers, so that was nice to see. But other than that, unless you guys got any other comments about Dynamite or want to give any thoughts or impressions about it, we're going to move on from that.
I think we covered the most important elements, unless Robert can think of anything I can't really on the top of my head.
That's all we got for Dynamite. All right then, for Vlad, the wrestling expert, for Robert, the frozen Asian, that's going to be all for this segment. Stay tuned to the Malapert Smart YouTube channel for future updates. We're going to talk some classic wrestling coming up. So stay tuned for that. Hit subscribe, and thank you for listening.